All right. Hello again, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in to another fantastic episode of Tales from the Pantheon. Today, we're going to be discussing marketing, AI, creativity, all of the amazing things that are, fueling the market today, especially as a lot of these AI tools, system integrations, and everything have started popping up. And before we jump into the actual panel and me introducing some of our amazing panelists that we're going to have on in a sec, I want to give you guys a brief introduction to Titen AI. So Titen AI is a platform that helps professionals, communities, and enterprises with 10xing their engagement and their network size. Currently, we're working on a system that helps with community management, but also personal relationship management, and an AI system that matches you with the right people, businesses, communities, events, and resources, and not just telling you who and what to connect with, but also really how and why to stay engaged and managing those relationships as well. And so, enough about us and what we're doing here. Back to Tales from the Pantheon. This is a podcast series that Tiden AI has created to really tell some authentic stories around specific topics, and specifically highlighting the stories of some amazing entrepreneurs, community builders, industry leaders. And so welcome you guys to episode 7. And I'm going to introduce our first panelist up here, which pretty much brought this entire session together. So Ashton Moore. I've had you on before. We have you on again. Thank you so much for popping back in. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
You're so welcome, and thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to spend time with you, sir. My name for the guest is Ashton Moore. I've always cringe when I say the words, but I suppose I'm a serial entrepreneur at this point. I've founded 20-some companies in 20 years, ground some to dust, sold some, and now I manage a portfolio of marketing, hospitality, and tech companies, and then do some capital advisory work on the side. Super excited to be here today and for you guys to meet my friends.
No, perfect. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. We're going to bring on our next panelist here, which is going to be Chris. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris.
Thanks. Like Ashton, super happy to be here. I'm Chris Perkins, the president of Model B. I am a marketer for many, many years. I won't name the many, but let's just leave it at many. Excited to lead Model B, which is a global marketing consultancy delivering outsized growth for clients around the world. And we do that through a group we call the Partner Collective, which is a group of 70 plus agencies that we collaborate with. Gives us scale with precision and takes the friction out of the equation and makes it a lot more fun. So, Gabriel, thanks so much for having us here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on. And last but definitely not least, let's bring on David.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be a part of this conversation, Gabriel. Just my name and background, David Larango. I will give the number of years in marketing, 15 plus years. Both of us sound like veterans now, though, Chris. Chris and I are actually the same age. That's a little bit about myself. Started my career at the wonderful company Palm Wonderful Pistachios, and then Forever 21. So working in these Fortune 500 companies, and now am the owner of Startup Accelerators, which works with early stage as well as high growth startups, helping them get everything from running their business, funding, all the way to managing and getting them to the next seed round, or hopefully helping them get acquired. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on. And I'll be showing their links and everything on how you guys can connect with them throughout the session today. But I want to start off with what may be a high note or a problematic one. So let's talk about the marketing dilemma right now. So has AI made marketing easier or just a lot more noisy? Let's start with you, Chris.
Well, that one's an easy one. Yes. It's both. It's a great advantage in many respects, but it's also a rush to the new mean. The problem with many technologies is when people misuse it or use it in lazy ways, the results show up. Right? Think of it as the modern clip art for the lazy marketer. Right? It's in everything. So it's unavoidable. But I think the real opportunity is, how do we get more time back to do the human stuff? The thing that I like to refer to is, until AI can describe in the way that we can all imagine it, the feeling of sand between your toes, we've got a job. We've got an easy job to do. And I would argue that many think it's hard because of that. But honestly, until it can do that, if it can ever do that, and can really address the caveman brain, I think we've got a safe place to work and do what we do. And frankly, the more people that misuse it to grind out the AI slop, as they call it, that just makes our jobs easier, honestly, because the differentiation between great and just okay is so apparent.
No, 100%. I think that the authenticity behind everything is really what drives a lot of the content coming in today. And I think the algorithms are also starting to notice a lot of those different aspects too, whether people tweak their content, whether it's just 100% AI generated and everything. But let's pass it over to either Ashton or David. This is an open forum too. I just wanted to kick it off and start, but I don't have to kick it off to each person as we're going through too.
Yeah. So the question, Gabriel, is it helpful or messy? Is that right?
Yeah. Like, is it basically like, is AI being helpful or hurtful right now? And is it making things, easier or harder, in the current market?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's like at a macro level, I kind of agree with Chris. I'm trying to think at a micro. It's giving a lot of marketers a false sense of confidence. So the problem is that they're going out there, they're testing things, they're testing content, and they're just wasting their time and their dollars, and they're kind of making their brand look worse. And then they're thinking this is a shortcut. It can be, and Chris has hinted at it. It can be if you know what you're doing and you know how to utilize it. If you don't, it's going to just make everything look much worse, and it's kind of going to make the ecosystem overall messier. So I think when you see whether it's on Meta ads or Google ads or whatever AI is, there is a pushback on this kind of crappy content. People don't want it. They want to be entertained, and the more that they don't, Meta also learns, that algorithm learns, it's going to keep pushing that aside. So I think a lot of those that felt that AI is going to allow them to do this on the cheap or easy, I think they're going to learn very fast. And that's where the mess comes in. And it's going to get easier for some of us to learn how to use it better, and those that use it better. So I think it's messy-ish right now. But I mean, even the slop you saw before, you're not seeing nearly as much of. So it's kind of already weeding it out. But getting away from that, any owners out there, business owners, false sense of confidence, really learn how to use these tools. Don't think that it's a shortcut. Clip art is a wonderful generational example of like really bad stuff, and people moved away from that on they moved away from it on anything from PowerPoint presentations. Move away from it in your ads, move away from design. So it is a little messy now, but any new technology will be messy. But don't let that messiness fool you into thinking you don't still need to do the hard work to do good work.
No, 100%. I think you were about to say something, Ashton.
Yeah, I would just say, what I'm seeing is that there's just more of the mediocre out there. Like, it's like enabling like more. But the nice part of it, like the really great thing about, I would say, the side effect is that authenticity is becoming even more valuable. So those who put the work in stand out and get the real attention from real people instead of fake attention on their fake content that's generated by a bunch of robots.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pieces to it's one of my advisors actually. He does a lot of marketing and content creation as well as like building websites and everything else. One of his favorite things is the M dash. And now that it's being used by pretty much everywhere in AI, like some of the things are getting flagged for it, but also I realized for some of the marketers, I can automatically tell because I'm like, oh, do you know like what the M dash is for, what it's used for? And they're like, what's an M dash? That I'll automatically, I'm like, okay, you guys, half of your content is AI generated. Even for a lot of big marketers that I've recently been following, that I've kind of been able to weed it out a lot more because, especially with what we're building, we can kind of, I guess, see through the slop. But speaking of, I guess, seeing through everything, how do you, filter and, kind of break through those signals right now with all of the constant AI generated content? You know, like, are there any specific tactics that, you know, your teams are using, that you're using for, you know, really drafting authentic things? Or, I mean, also, are you just doing the exact same things you were doing, you know, I guess pre 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I can take that. I mean, it's interesting. Prompts, we've gotten better at giving really thorough prompts. And then maybe I'll take that. Prompts are good. Editing those prompts are better. So I think the laziness comes in, like where you're seeing ChatGPT, it's very obvious. You take that and you just take it at face value. Usually when I'm using these and getting really good work, I've had to do probably 4 or 5 rounds of revision. So you almost think of ChatGPT as like a junior copywriter that needs a lot of guidance. It needs a lot of input and even showing it examples. So you're still, it's not as good as giving some new and fresh ideas. It's good when you really start to refine and tweak it. So that's what I do on copy. And my team, I tell my team to do it on copy. Like, don't send anything over until it's really done. Also, the more information you give it, the more thoroughly you give it, it's going to look better too, right? So it's not a lazy answer, really. It's be thoughtful with it. Creative is a very good example too. And in this weird way, I can't be sure, but I think ChatGPT also gives you lazy versions first. It will spit something out. If you're okay with it, it's fine. It's kind of like you have a junior designer. If you think it's good, they're like, fine, I haven't done a lot of work. I don't know how the AI does that. It's probably just the output of the energy it has to put in. But even things like, no, I want you to specifically change this image, keep this exactly the same, change this exact color. You give it more design. So in a way, Gabriel, it's like, it's very funny. It's the exact same process we have from a creative, iterative standpoint that you'd have with humans that with ChatGPT. Of course, you don't get that feedback, but we do the exact same kind of process, rounds of revision. And I ask my team to go through 4 or 5. Don't just give me 1 or 2. You really have to go layer by layer, at least using ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the ones that we use. So it's a very similar process for us.
I'd offer 2 tips to build on that. I think one, when you're using AI tools, figure out what their superpower is first, and then build process around it rather than trying to layer it into a process you've used for years, because it won't leverage its innate strength. And I see that mistake made all the time, where you can write the best prompt in the world, but if you're trying to inject it into a linear process that's 10 years old, it's not going to result in the best outcome. And the second thing is, be a fast follower. Don't waste your time trying to find the bleeding edge latest tool, because there are 1,000 tools out there that are AI powered. The best thing you can do for your sanity and productivity is to actually find somebody that curates a list of what works and how it works and the way it applies, so that you can cut the line on going to the right tool at the right time. Because just going to ChatGPT or just going to Gemini or just going to Claude is not the answer. There are many, many other tools, and go to AI Marketers Guild or go to some other group that curates a list, so you can cut the line on finding the tool that best applies for you in the moment.
Yeah, I would say for me, the real magic, like the biggest change, I mean, I couldn't say it better than the 2 of you just did, but the ability to find deep knowledge on a particular subject wildly quickly is, I think, the best magic of marketing. Because I think it was Ogilvy who said that, like, the greatest marketers, like, after 2 weeks of study, should know more about the industry than the CEO who's hired them. And like tools like Perplexity, you can have that thing do like deep queries with like really great results and like find niches and gaps in markets in minutes.
Yeah, I think Perplexity offers a real, like, I think it comes down to prompt engineering for a lot of those different things. Even this week, I just got Perplexity Pro right now. By the way, if anybody has Venmo or PayPal, you can get a free year Perplexity Pro. So just a quick tidbit for everybody. I literally just sent a link to my co-founder about it. If you guys want that too, I'll send it over to you. But literally, we're doing market research right now. We're updating our pitch decks and everything. And I was asked to quantify the previous problem statement into financial terms. And so as I was going through putting different prompts into the system, I realized that it's really great at drawing in obscure sources, but it's not really great at offering, I guess, the middle ground of not necessarily scientific research. It either goes scientific or it'll go for grabbing something off Reddit. Right, which is like I wanted that middle ground of like, okay, give me a verified, reputable source, like, give me your Forbeses, your Business Insiders, whatever it is, like somebody that has data on this outside of, But the great thing about it was it went through the Reddit articles, and it condensed basically like 5,000 comments down into a very streamlined, 2-paragraph answer, which I didn't expect it to do. But also at the same time, that's not what I really wanted. I really needed, like, great for later on use cases. So a lot of different things like that where I guess you can go down a lot of rabbit holes when dealing with AI, especially when it comes to market research these days, which is one of my favorite things to do. But honestly, I think it's become a lot more difficult. And I guess my next question to you guys would be where you guys see human intuition outperforming market intelligence in some of these marketing decisions, right? So kind of piggybacking off of that, like, there's a lot of expertise, especially for all of us. Like, I've been in marketing 10 years. You guys have been in, the spaces, in your respective fields for quite a while as well. And so it's like, how do you see AI outpacing? Do you ever see it outpacing certain aspects when it comes to the human element?
It's a good question, Gabriel. I'm just going to give like my honest feeling on it more so than anything else is
No bullshit, right?
In some ways, it's made what I do more valuable than ever, in that the ability to analyze has almost died completely. And I think that usually when we're hired on, or maybe if I were to hire somebody, and maybe everybody here, what they're looking for is a real, true analysis and insight. And they're allergic now to things that seem almost like regurgitated from something like ChatGPT. So
yeah,
the human element feels more valuable and weirdly rarer than it used to be, at least for me. Even those that are like early on, like in their career, they don't know how to analyze. They're going to put in ChatGPT, I see numbers are this, and maybe this trend is here. So I guess a specific kind of element for you in this way is we have a lot of fashion clients and some very large. Maybe ChatGPT can figure out trends, but I don't know if it's going to understand what, the kid who's 13 is really liking or not, or what she's interested in, or what something catches her eye, right? Or the 17-year-old boy, you know what I mean? That is like, what is it that he's interested in that makes him, look cool to the girl that he wants to impress? I don't think ChatGPT or any of these AIs are ever going to have that intuitive human experience by itself, or just the human experience to be able to intuit what it is or isn't, right? So it's an algorithm that has inputs and outputs, but it's not going to even be able to look at trends. And a very specific one is looking at trends in denim. Then younger generation kind of likes bell bottoms again, or these baggy jeans, and they go through these trends. Now maybe ChatGPT could analyze thousands of sales, thousands of data points, and start to pick out trends that happened, but they're not the ones that emerged. Maybe they can even find emerging, but how does it know that? What set core demographic, what audience? It probably will be able to some degree get there, but I think they're not going to be trend. It can't be a trend setter, at least right now. So where I'm going with that is human intuition, being able to set trends. It's kind of going to be difficult for it to do that. Maybe it'll read them as they start, but when that happens, that's what everybody does. It's kind of too late, right? So it's a trend setting. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would support that, David. I think the combination of, one of the things that is an advantage of AI is that it has a data set that's enormous. One of the disadvantages is it has a data set that's enormous. What I mean by that is when you're talking to a 17-year-old in Brooklyn versus a 17-year-old in, let's say, Dubuque, all right, their scope of the world, their size of the world, their shape of the world, their perception, their thoughts of the way the world looks is very different. So the trends are different. And Perplexity's ability to be discreet about that, unless you write a really tight prompt, and even then I would argue it's going to be flawed on some level. It can still help you cut the line on context, but the difference where the human factor comes in is, our ability as humans to think at the sensory level and to think, all of our senses are analog, all of our senses are, naturally kind of base level. And, it tends to homogenize things based on semiotics. And semiotics are limited, right? It can't take you to that space of commonality between common people. And the best example of that is, show me an AI that can define love in terms that we can all agree on, and now use that from now on. Because it's different. It takes different sizes and shape. The way I love my mother is very different the way I love my wife or my dog. It's like that. So could it define that? No. And so for foreseeable future, if not forever, we'll have an advantage. We just have to be mindful of the difference and play from our strength and use it for its strength.
I think that's exactly it. And I think humans are just simply always going to recognize the humanity of anything that has been crafted for them, even if it's a one-to-many message. Like, some of the best marketing campaigns help people feel seen, and that's when they become magnetic. And I think it's going to be very hard for a machine to replace that element.
I want to piggyback off that, Ashton, a little bit. I think you're right. And maybe, Chris, we've all been in the service industry. Whenever I've gotten clients that are like pushback from a client, the first thing that they always say is that you don't seem engaged, or you don't seem invested, or you're giving some kind of trite response. So, which can be almost like a robotic response, right? That's the human response to David being like, here is a cut and paste answer for you. So if humans feel that way about other humans, I think they're always going to be responding to Ashton's point in that way, which is, I don't feel like I'm cared for. And especially with us, at least all of us, again, dealing with humans, there's, whether Ashton with dollars, whether it's us, Chris, with clients that give us their dollars right directly, they want to feel as though we are taking care of them. And I don't think they're ever going to feel that. So that human connection and element, even when we do it robotically, is toxic. The way that they feel like it's an odious response. Like, how dare you? There's a how dare you moment that they get that I've seen,
I've had that as well with the how dare you moment. Yeah. So, where they just look at you and think of the audacity of proposing something that may actually work. It's
yeah.
No, it's kind of crazy because even the way that I see it, actually, and I agree with all of you as well, but in my mind, when I initially was thinking about everything, it went to a different point of project planning. So that's actually the biggest thing that I use it for when I'm dealing with some of my consulting clients, actually. And so, like, one of the companies that we're working with right now is like a pallet company, and so I had to draft up, an entire 6-month plan, essentially, of how we were going to integrate some of the software, some of the marketing, like revamping their social network, social media planning, and everything else. And I'm like, okay, well, I know how to do all of these things. Let me just put some of my previous work in reporting and project plans in here, get a new project plan out, and then I can refine it and edit that. And so that saves a huge amount of time. And obviously with the new formatting, I do love how ChatGPT formats project plans. And like Perplexity, or not Perplexity, for some of the research outputs to like put in little snippets. So if somebody does kind of call out this is BS, okay, well, here's some cited articles and things like that, then can be really useful to kind of push some people over the needle, especially when the bill isn't high, but sometimes people will see the bills as high, like, oh, this is $12,000. Well, $12,000 versus you getting, $20,000 or no, $200,000 plus in revenue. 12 doesn't seem like that much, right? So being able to quantify, I think, some of those aspects when it comes down to contracting for marketing, I think is really useful. And even I've seen a lot of startup founders and even like a lot of SMBs that have started using it for, even little minor things like if you don't know how to create keywords, granted, I always recommend getting an actual marketing professional to come in. But if you just need a quick pass, you need something to put in the box, you can at least get some initial traffic in. It's good for, that initial first pass for a novice, but also even, and I've tested this out with even some of our podcast sessions and everything too, where my written tags versus putting in the ChatGPT tags, completely night and day difference, where like, and I mean like 20 people watching an episode versus thousands of people watching an episode, and so it's literally the difference where like, okay, we use these terms to kind of get the ball rolling, I need just a placeholder to put this in, so I can come back in and have the time to really edit everything. And it's completely different setup when you're going through those things as well. But yeah, into the next question that I have here, which is, what are some of the like ethical boundaries? So when you're looking at some of the lines that marketers shouldn't cross when they're using AI for like persuasion or personalization, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I have a really maybe it's a novel concept, but the only way AI truly succeeds, Gabriel, eventually is that we all have to submit to it every piece of our data, everything. And I'm even talking like our health data, our bank account data, everything about ourselves. I always opt in and say yes. Maybe that's answering your ethical question. I think this is like the next great human endeavor and human experiment that we have, right? Throughout human centuries, it was usually sacrificing our bodies, right? Whether to build roads, to fight wars, right? To protect our lands, what have you, to build tunnels, right? People sacrifice their bodies. Now we have to sacrifice our data. And a lot of people are afraid of that, right? But as we die, we pass on, we're passing our data on. It's going to make AI advancements in medicine, AI advancements in thought, everything better. So we have to quell the concern, that ethical concern of like, my data is my data, and think of it as the human collective data. So to answer that question a little bit more ethically or morally, in a way of just advertising, maybe I'll kind of leave the floor to everyone else here, but I think in terms of sharing of data and building it, I think it's actually a human good to give it over. I know that's a scary thing and how we're going to trust it, but that's true of anything, right? What are those roads for, right? We're part of an army. Are we doing the right thing? You have to trust in the overall human endeavor and experiment to do the right thing and make it better for everyone. And I think that's where we are. And I look at that as our all ethical dilemma is, how much are we willing to give to this, so that my great granddaughter is going to have something that can predict cancer or see the signs of early cancer for her when we couldn't see that, see the signs of something else that she didn't, brain disease, whatever it is. Like that, I think, is the next big ethical sacrifice that we all have to make as a generation right now, so that 3 generations on, they have something that we can't even fathom.
Yeah, I mean, I can go on for forever on that specifically as well, because I mean, that's even some of the things that while we're building Titen AI, even a couple of investors have asked us, and some of the consumers, like, well, what are you guys doing with the data? How are you guys doing everything? And it's an interesting thing, because people don't realize that like every prompt you're putting into ChatGPT is being ingested. Every single document, note, whatever it is, it's all going towards this massive collective. And people also don't realize, like, and most consumers don't realize that AI and machine learning have been around for over 50 years, right? Like all of the advertisements that Facebook recommends you has been powered by AI for a very, very long time, right? The same thing with LinkedIn, all these other platforms. Marketing has been fueled by artificial intelligence on the consumer end for at least the last 20 years, right? It's just the consumers weren't able to see it until ChatGPT made it more public, because now you have this system that people that if you're not a developer or mostly developer, but if you're not a marketer or anybody else that's been with a major Fortune 500 company, you may not have even seen it or known that it exists. And so the curtain has been pulled back. And after that curtain has been pulled back, there's been a lot of people having more concerns about data transparency, data utilization, everything else, which for the most part, I agree with a lot of different things. I think people should have the ability to own their data, should have the ability to choose what data gets in and what data doesn't go in, but also knowing that even with what we're building right now, it's like, okay, you don't want to put in your LinkedIn data. That's totally fine. You'll get a worse output if you don't do it, but I'm not going to force you to do any of those things. And so it's having the acknowledgement of people being okay with what's being taken in, and then the ethics behind it. Because also it's on the companies and the individual people as well, of like, is it a good idea to take social security numbers? No. Is it a good idea to take where somebody lives state-wise or whatever it is? Maybe.
I'll just say for the record, I will send in a blood sample and upload my bank accounts if it gets me better insurance commercials while I'm watching football.
Honestly, yeah. Like, I would say this.
It's a little thing.
If I can get tailored ads to the Super Bowl, that is just specifically for me, no, I would give out a couple of blood samples for that. I give a couple of fingerprints.
I mean, from my perspective, that I agree that, you know, I want my data. I mean, I'll leave so much data out there. Honestly, it's insane. Most people don't have a clue on how much is out there. It's
Did we lose him? I think we might have lost him.
Sounds like it.
It is fun to sometimes go and download your data from an app or from a thing, and you're just like, whoa, you basically have my blood already. Okay.
They have all of your. You'd be surprised how much of your even your work history, where you've lived, right? A lot of that data is already out there. And I mean, to that point, I mean, Gabriel, you mentioned, I just bring it up. You're right. I mean, Google, all of these algorithms, Netflix, Google have had it for decades, and data privacy. And I think that's probably the next big also dollar amount where, like, can you rent your data? What does renting your data mean, right? What is allowing access to your data privatization? But probably is going to be monetized first.
Yeah.
I'm still of the, you know, the more data all of these have, the better they are, right? Like Titen AI, the more it has, the better it's going to be. I think I guess the quick answer still to your question while Chris is coming back, the consumer to some degree is going to answer that like moral question too, right? I mean, when they're given that, and I guess it goes back to a little bit, you didn't quite ask it, but like there is this weird, almost like schism, almost religious and or political schism between I want AI or I don't want AI at all, and how viscerally people react to, for example, music being made by AI, and how angry they are, or creative being made and how angry they are. There's this weird, even though there's no enemy, so to speak, right? Just historically speaking, they react in a moral way, right? It's a human response to see it that way. So I know that probably wasn't quite the question, but I see that, and the reason it comes up is I tell all my clients whenever they ask me how do they feel about AI, how do I feel about AI ads, I say I hate them, and I'm like, I not necessarily hate them as in I don't want you to try them, you should, but I as a consumer can't stand them, and I can tell you a lot of consumers can't stand them either. So because of that, and I think it is an intuitively moral component too. I don't know if you feel that way, Ashton, but.
Well, I would say when it comes to ethics and morals, I mean, I don't know if there's a ton of debate there. Lots of other people are having that debate. But in my opinion, as a consumer, as a watcher of commercials, as a LinkedIn scroller, I think like the greatest sin in marketing is being boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, but you just paid to show me something that is just, you could have spent a lot more time on when you're spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to show that ad to people like me. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of crazy in that aspect, right? Because I have had the exact same thoughts as, okay, there's so much machine learning behind this, and you recommending me this ad, or maybe you guys just turned it off for this one because it's like completely irrelevant. But there is another thing too it's kind of interesting, and I wonder how AI is going to progress with this with advertising, because there's a lot of products that, you know, I'll go and I'll purchase a product, right? But then I'll see that same product in an advertisement for a week. I've already converted, I've already paid, but at the same time, I'm still seeing the ads. But there's also, maybe there's a logical fallacy in a lot of people's minds where it's like, okay, you're seeing this ad over and over again. So within that first, you know, week over week retention that they're looking at, it's good to display that advertisement over and over again, because then it might keep you from churning, maybe. Or like dropping off. So I wonder how a lot of those metrics are currently working as people are looking at AI within advertising. And then I know you said something, Ashton, that I wanted to piggyback off of, but also I don't know. This is a quick side tangent, or maybe not quick. Who knows? But are you guys familiar with like Xbox and Xbox Game Pass and all the things that are happening with that currently?
No. New one?
So if you guys don't know, Xbox Game Pass is essentially like subscriptions for video games, right? You can pay, like, I think it's like used to be $20 a month, just got up to $30 a month for what is it called? Basically access to like 400 different games in a library. So instead of paying for them individually for $70 per game, you do that. But now they're trying to look at adding advertising in before you start a video game, you have to watch a 2 to 5 minutes of ads. They're like, well, if Netflix is doing it, we can do it with gaming. And so there's this big thing that's popping up right now in advertising of the ethics behind, should these applications be showing ads in the frequency that they are, and where is the limit? But I know Chris just came back too. I don't know if you had any chime-ins for the ethics behind like marketing and advertising and AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, David, I think I in my was starting to head down this path about data. I think Palantir probably picked up on what I was going to say, so they kicked me off since we're talking about data and ethics. But no, joking aside, there's I think the beauty of today is that there's more and more curiosity around the ethics and belief system and values of brands. It's always been important, but I think whether it's criticizing Chick-fil-A for not being open on Sundays or being open, in certain ways, or Coke, there's, I don't know whether it's true or not. This is the crazy thing, right? There's so much false information out there. The chairman of Coke commenting that so and so shouldn't be in the Super Bowl as entertainment, but those kinds of things have a repercussion that is immediate, right? It hits the bottom line. So, as we counsel brands, it's important that they are discreet and clear about what they stand for. And frankly, I think it's going to be an interesting part of what we'll be able to communicate more effectively about, which is what is their belief system. And, one of the things to link it to part of what I heard you guys talking about a second ago, I'd like to take off of every creative brief in the future any rational reasons to believe, because I've never, ever bought anything on the surface based on a reason to believe. I've always bought it based on how it made me feel or something interesting and, compelling about the way they communicated or their ethos, which are in some way rational, but only after you've emotionally kind of consumed that information. So linking a couple of things together there, I think, AI is probably going to make a lot of mistakes for brands because the information leakage is massive. Every prompt is captured and a lot of IP is being, stolen unintentionally or leveraged unintentionally. And so it's going to be an interesting time. I mean, I think there's lots and lots and lots of court time ahead. Lawyers will continue to make money as much as we don't want them to off of the process of how this gets managed. But in the end, I think it's probably better for consumers because ethics and belief systems are going to be much more on the front and center rather than, is it brighter whites? Is it, a new improved packaging? Who cares?
Yeah, I want to slight tangent, but it's just a topic that I'm interested in, and it relates directly in a lot of ways to AI. First of all, as a consumer and not as a marketer or even advisor, but I kind of like the trolley elements of AI. I like everything that's trolley. I really do. And I like it personally because it's the one time that AI can kind of disrupt those things you're talking about, Chris, where these brands get so static and staid and stodgy that's kind of where the troll, the jester throughout kind of history has come in. And when AI is played off of in that way, it does have a human element. And it's almost like when human companies feel too robotic and boring, like Ashton was saying, then AI weirdly disrupts. And I don't know if that is a way to play with AI or a way to think about AI creatively. But I think you're right. Reason to believe that feels like an AI prompt asking, like it feels like AI asking humans, what do you believe? And then talking to itself. And I don't know, there might be ways that AI can be played with in that way. And the things that I see, like I mentioned, why I like AI memes is because they're weirdly responding to culture rather than trying to create an artificialized version of it. So in that way, I know we've been a lot of negative on AI. I think there are ways to utilize it at least put a pin in this way that I like it, but that's always being a disruptor. And in our careers, probably all of us, it's hard to take risks and people don't want to. And now weirdly AI has become safe and now they're not taking risks, but can you use it in a risk taking way? And I think it's going to be, again, how you're going to stand out because all this is safe, AI is going to give you safe stuff, you're not going to stand out. So it really goes back to Ashton's point. I agree with him. Why I don't like him is just, why'd you spend money on something that's so boring? Like, my day is worse by having looked at it. Like, like that's how I feel.
No, there's a lot of like AI generated slop in that regard, that like I look at it and I'm like, why did you think this was okay to put out? Like, you got the final product and you still decided to press like send or post or whatever it is. But then there are also some where I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And like, I didn't even realize it was generated by AI at all. And it's like these people generating like authentic commercials, or some of these what are they called, like images for some of the posts that they're putting in, that are really, really good. And I think it also comes down to some of the prompt engineering, because even with some of the AI stuff that we've generated, yeah, some of it's, I can say some of it's slop, but also some of it's like, I've been amazed at the output where I'm like, okay, this would have taken me like 20 hours in Photoshop to do. And so, spending an hour prompting this out, it's a lot more efficient. So I can focus on other aspects of the company or on marketing or whatever else it is. And so it really kind of moves the needle in that regard a lot, depending on what you're working on, which I guess goes into, my next question of, how are you guys evaluating which AI tools and trends are worth betting on right now within marketing? And what are some of your favorite tools? I know we've mentioned some of them. Or like, what are some of your favorite tools that you've used that could be useful to the audience that maybe they haven't seen themselves or aren't utilizing?
And we've named a lot of the, at least for me, Gabriel, I can just quickly say that we've named a lot of the ones that I use. There are a lot of partners, I guess, quickly on that I'll use for audience segmentation. So maybe quick tangent, right? I'll just talk like for all the marketers or businesses out there. There's Meta AI and there's Google, right? And there's PMax, and then there's Meta's Advantage Shopping. Those tools are being used and we use them all the time. And I think that's probably something to use effectively to start your business. But what I've also found is a lot of those tools are just trust us. You don't get a lot of data. So the big negative of anything AI is that they have all the cards. It's same like Amazon. They hold all the cards. So I like these for testing and learning. So it's kind of like Chris is talking about briefs, or we're talking about not Proxima, forgot Perplexity. So all of these tools help you figure out a market, and you can start testing with AI, put some creative in their messaging, allow it to kind of refine and tweak and show you, but you're so beholden to it. So what I would say is those are the two that I'd say we use a lot, of course. Like, again, if you're in Google, it's Performance Max, and in Meta, it's Advantage Shopping campaigns. Usually everybody starts with those, at least to a degree. You don't get a lot of data, so you have to really train it in a lot of ways with creative and messaging. But I'd say those are the two that I would talk through that I like, that I don't want anyone to rely on them, and we don't rely on them. And then our vendors come in and help you segment these audiences in the way that you used to be able to 5 years ago before those were taken away, like a Proxima or a Black Crow for our vendor partners, which Chris, you probably know these guys too. But I would say that I'd like these as starters, and anybody who is starting their own e-commerce business, you're probably going to be familiarized with those two tools. And I recommend them, and that's where you should start. But it's not the only place that you should spend your kind of time on AI, but that's an easy start.
Yeah, I mean, my number one go-to tool is Perplexity, and now the Comet browser, which is phenomenal and integrates seamlessly, and it's better than Chrome. I was scared to death of moving, because we are a Google Workplace shop, and I was afraid that it would not be seamless. It's just perfect. It does everything we need it to in a really easy way, and the way it recommends assistance options is phenomenal and just really fantastic. I do worry how much leakage there is of data I don't want to get out there. So I want all the tools to have better, clearer senses, like settings for privacy. But then, honestly, I use probably 30 different tools and just keep a tab and use them on a regular basis. But they change. Which ones I use change probably every 2 or 3 weeks because the marketplace is advancing and the release of the latest version is advancing. And I try really hard to avoid using something that I don't have confidence somebody else has used in a very similar way, so I can just jump the line on productivity. Because I early on, I think we all probably wasted millions of cycles using stuff that, like I remember being super excited about having tools that claimed they could make wonderful PowerPoint-like presentations. Oh, dude, that stuff was I mean, like, honestly, it was crap, beyond terrible, unusable.
Yeah.
And it's finally now to a place where it's starting to show up. But even then, cutting the line on which ones work and being ready to pivot to the next one. I don't have. I mean, like, honestly, if Claude or ChatGPT or new tool number one comes out with a better option, I'm gone. I don't have any loyalty. In fact, in talking earlier about the Perplexity 1 year pro free thing, I love it because it's free, and if I don't use it, I don't feel bad. But
Yeah.
like the notion of paying for an annual for one of these things, no, just not going to do it. Like, I don't have confidence I'll use it for more than 6 weeks, probably.
Yeah, no, I agree. You also gave me war flashbacks when you talked about some of those old PowerPoint creation softwares,
Oh
because
my
I
God.
literally used so many of them back in the day. There were like, there's one that I can't even remember the name of it, but I just remember bubbles. But like, there's big bubbles, then you would go into the different, war flashbacks. But no, I completely agree. Even that's something that I've thought about with our team, because I'm like, do I want to pay for, because we have 8 total employees right now, right? Do I want to pay for 8 people to get access to this AI tool that maybe only 1 or 2 of them are going to use? And then I'm like, the bills are crazy when you add them all up, right? That's like $400 a month bare minimum, just for us to use some of these systems. And like, the cost benefit analysis on a lot of this stuff is not really there, when you really kind of look at it in dollars and cents. And then you have some team members, especially that are trying to use AI, and they get upset because they're like, well, I really want to use tool A or B. I'm like, well, if you want to use it personally, great. But like, I don't think the company can pay for that or should pay for that in some of these regards too. So I think that's another thing that a lot of business owners are dealing with right now, as their teams are starting to use AI more, is trying to figure out. Even there was an MIT study that was done recently specifically on that as well, where they were like, I think more businesses are losing money on trying to integrate AI than not right now. And I know, Ashton, if you had anything additional you wanted to chime in for any, I guess, tools and systems in your mind.
Well, I think we covered what I think are the most valuable ones for sure. I mean, Perplexity for research, any GPT for project plans, and any GPT for like junior work. And I think going beyond those 3 things may be a dangerous path.
Yeah, I will say there's something that I realized that was just added with Webflow, and I'm pretty sure they're using AI to get this done for at least a partial aspect of it, which is the analytics on Webflow were not great before, but they've actually recently improved it drastically for looking at click funnels and everything through that. It's like $300 a month, so also to each their own if they want to buy it, they want to purchase that or not. We're on a free trial for it. Honestly, we're partnered with Webflow, so love Webflow, but also to each their own on that. But literally, it goes through for every single click that's done on every single button on our on our landing pages right now. It'll say where exactly that traffic was generated from. So whether it's an outside source, whether it's GPT, whether it's Google search, I can see exactly which funnels for each button on the page are where it's coming from, which is actually a really nice marketing addition that I just found yesterday, actually. So that's something that we're probably going to start using a little bit more, just to track from the marketing side. And I'd say from a even for marketers that like build out websites or all that stuff, if you're looking for a quick demo or test, or third option, if you want to prove to your clients that you can't just build something very quickly with AI and vibe code it out, because I've literally done that. I had one of my clients, I went through and I quote unquote rebuilt their entire website inside of Lovable. And I was like, they were like, you could just build this website in 5 prompts. I'm like, all right, let's test this out. I'm really good at prompt engineering. Here's another site that I built with Lovable. Let's try it out in 5 prompts. Did not even come close to their current website of this even recreating it. So another quick tactic for people. I know we're running short on time here. We're getting close to the end of everything. I did want to ask, the final question. being, how like if you guys are using AI internally for like training your teams or like fostering anything with company culture for like your organizations right now. If not, that's also cool too. I don't know if anybody's actually doing that.
Sorry, I broke up a letter for me, Gabriel. Are you saying how are we using it to foster our teams?
Yeah, like basically like internally, like how like your team's utilizing, artificial intelligence, or if you guys using it for, like training or different other aspects outside of like, direct like building marketing collateral or providing value to your clients, like are you guys using it for value to your teams internally?
I'm not per se with the team internally. I think, it's because it's always so outward facing. A lot of the people that are like working on digital transformation are figuring out how do you make internal structures work better for teams. So I think, so for example, what I'd like to use it for, what I'm seeing others, not myself, but in a digital world where I don't get to see a lot of my team members very often in person, what you lose is kind of leadership and connection and then cohesiveness. So I feel like actually AI may be able to help you structure some of those where, what is it, like leadership courses, training courses, team courses, like you'd have to go into those in person. Some of the ones that I've seen utilize this, and I don't know the actual, and I can kind of follow up with you on this, but there's one larger agency that we can tend to partner with that's using this to kind of structure and foster team development and learning sessions and all that good kind of stuff. So things that you would normally do and think through, I think could be beneficial. So something like asking questions, hey, team bonding, learning sessions, client Q&A feedbacks, right? So I would almost say a structural way to have the teams touch base, because I just don't do it and we just don't think to do it anymore. And maybe that's just an effort of always trying to service a client in a client service model. They kind of come first and a detriment to teams. So we tend to always focus it there. I think it's actually a good note that we should use it more frequently. And I'm seeing larger companies do it. It's something I said I was going to do a year ago. And this is just another reminder that I should.
Yeah. Well, we might have to chat offline about Titen AI and some of the stuff we're working on there.
Please do. Yes.
Yeah.
That was not a plug, but
it wasn't, but I'll take it where I can get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was completely spontaneous.
Yeah, we don't necessarily use tools to generate or to support culture or enrichment in that way. I think probably culturally we're very connected, and we definitely talk about good outcomes and bad outcomes in tool use. In fact, just recently, Ashton and I, one of our colleagues, put out there, see what AI will generate. Ask it this prompt and see what photo it pulls for you. And the prompt was, based on everything you know about me, including my profession and the things that interest me, please create a photo that represents what you think I look like. I want to see how you interpret me without posting a reference photo. The image should feel human and not corporate. And
wow, okay.
It was like it could not. It exposed very quickly how big the gap still is. And frankly, that's a prime example of its weakness, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you were to say to somebody that's artistic in any respect, imagine a person that works in marketing, likes fishing, has 2 adult children, blah, 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 lives in this place, all these things. There'd be a lot more cues they would build into the visualization than what it came up with, which was like a terrible stock photo. Laughable, even ethnically wrong. Everything about it was like, what on earth just happened? But so in a way, part of what I like about that is it's a real bonding moment for us to share a little bit of vulnerability, but also just our personal perspective, and to talk marketing and tools without it being Coursera or Moog session, right? Gives us another way to kind of connect, and we definitely do a lot of that.
Well, it's funny. I actually asked Perplexity why it doesn't think I'm Caucasian, and it got pretty defensive about it. I was like, whoa, did I? Okay, calm down. We're fine. I'm not coming at you, little robot.
You don't get pro free.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great. So we're gonna wrap everything here. What I would love for you guys to do individually is kind of telling everybody, once again, what you guys are working on, and then I'll have your QR codes appear respectively for people to connect with you after on LinkedIn. And then if you want to draw any other traffic or tell everybody to visit you guys in some other ways, definitely do. But let's go ahead and start off with David.
Yep. So David Larengo, like I mentioned, owner, founder of Startup Accelerators, focused on consumer goods, fashion apparel, vitamin supplements, all that stuff in the B2C space, helping you scale your startup from 0 to 1 or 1 to 100. Places you can find me, LinkedIn is great. And startupaccelerators.io, just bug me on email. And then when we get to like each other, you can text me all the time like I do with Ashton.
That's great. And let's go ahead and go with Chris next, and then Ashton.
Thanks. Building from David's point, I'm Chris Perkins, president of Model B, and we're a growth marketing agency working globally. We actually started at the kind of Series A and forward, and helping brands accelerate. Work with some venture-backed companies and private equity-backed companies, as well as publicly listed companies on the full spectrum of marketing. And the way we do that is through our partner collective, which gives us precision and reduces the friction in the process of getting to great work that makes their business grow.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Sorry, I jumped right in there, didn't I, Gabriel?
Yeah, you're about to jump right in. Didn't even give me a chance to put the photo and the QR code. After this like big thing of me adding photos finally with all the headshots and all the fancy stuff, you just want to jump right in.
Well, I was just gonna say if all y'all can't figure out if you should call David to work with his amazing marketing company or Chris to work with the amazing Model B, just call me. I'm always happy to sit down and do a zero-cost consult about business, marketing, entrepreneurship, your startup, anything in the world. So, and as Chris plugged, we have over 70 partner agencies. If David isn't already a partner at Startup Accelerators, he will be. I'll get him in. And so, always happy to make the time to everybody listening.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for jumping on today. And so now time for my fun shameless plug while somebody is blowing leaves in front of my yard, which is for Titen AI, just so you guys can know about that. So our platform is officially launching on November 4th. So in less than 30 days, Titen AI will be out to help you with all of your fancy networking needs. So essentially, the system is going to be able to help not only communities, professional organizations, and enterprises with 10xing their engagements both internally and externally, but also for professionals themselves, basically your decision makers, manager level or higher, with growing their networks and being more engaged as well. So not only with recommendations on finding the right people, businesses, communities, events, and resources, but also on maintaining those professional relationships. We're actually building a really cool software for warm introductions that I was talking with the team about yesterday that I'm really excited for everybody to try out. So definitely go onto our platform there. We're also offering crazy steep discounts that we will never be offering again after this. Trust me, because we're losing a lot of money on this. But we want to get people in. We want to get people to try it. But $10 for your first year for paid programs, and then 50% off for enterprise. So when I say we're never going to offer that again, I mean it. After we hit 1,000 people, we are cutting that off because a lot of money. But also really good for getting the early adopters in. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everybody that you love that this is coming out, and can't wait for you guys to try it. And also for some of our upcoming events and everything, this is a link to our Luma calendar if you guys aren't subscribed to that yet, where you can hear about all the upcoming podcast sessions as well as all of our in-person and virtual events. We have a lot of networking events that we're doing and matching attendees to that. We've already matched literally over 250 people within the last 30 days alone, and can't wait to match more individuals once the platform is actually live as well. So thank you guys. Thanks everybody so much for coming on. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time out to speak with me today. This has been fantastic. The recordings for this are going to be on YouTube and LinkedIn respectively. And we're also going to be posting this on Spotify. So find Tales from the Pantheon on Spotify for episode 8. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And we're close it out here.
Thank you.